Welcome to Eyes and Teeth, Funny for Money, and sorry about the delay in this episode. I lost my voice, and that is the only reason why I will stop podcasting. And I know what you're thinking, Steve, you're a ventriloquist, use one of your other voices. But it doesn't work that way. I wish it did. My voice started to go just before a 9-day run of gigs last week, and I maxed up medication, and that was just honey, lemon drinks, paracetamol, and sleep and rest as much as possible. But the gigs came, and 3 are now complete, with 6 more to go. But I think I'm coming through the other end. It's mind over matter. You don't mind, and I don't matter. I don't know where I've heard that before, but anyways. Talking to Phil Reid really gives you a full insight to the beginner's guide of stand-up comedy. He has the perfect influences. He grafted the right way, in bingo halls and holiday parks, hosting shows. And he just went for it, given any opportunity to use those adlib skills and turn them into punchlines and get those first laughs. Phil credits Miles Crawford and Keith Harris as being important role models in giving him their time and kindness. And they saw in Phil the talent he has, and I've seen it. He's a brilliant MC, compere, stand-up comic in his own right, and he also found the world of pantomime and variety. He's got the mutual respect of those before us as I do, and he's clearly a genuine being with a love for what he does. Phil dissects the comedy stand-up piece by piece. He explains how he got to where he is now by learning and going over routines until they worked. And within his writing process, Phil talks about writing a new routine and then putting it in front of an audience and it not working as well as he initially thought it would. I understand that. If you think about on your phones when you text someone and they reply with a confused emoji or even angry emoji, even then you read your own message back and then you see how they could read it differently. It's read 2 or 3 different ways. Comedy must be the same way to an audience. Everyone's got a different point of view, a different brain or mind, and they hear things differently. And that's why some people are offended by one joke and others aren't. It's why we're all different and why comedy is getting harder and harder by the day. Phil listens and learns, and if you're starting out, you could learn a lot by listening to Phil Reid on Eyes and Teeth, Funny for Money, or as I call this episode, Read the Audience. See what I did? Welcome to Eyes and Teeth, Phil Reid.
How you doing, Steve Hewlett? Is it Steve Hewlett Arthur Lager?
After I'd done that TV show that I did, people used to call me Britain's Got Talent. You should point to me and just say, "Oh, you're Britain's Got Talent." And I was Britain's Got Talent back then. Or you know, when you do something like if you're in pantomime or something in that town, they just point to you and they never learn your names at all, do they? They just call you by your muddles. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Or when you look at you and they're like, do I know you? I think I know you, but I don't know if I do know you. And where do I know you from? And they give you that like weird stare, and you then have that awkward moment where you're like, Muddles, or you have to go, Britain's Got Talent, or whatever it is.
I know, it's weird. Yeah, you have to remember where they've seen you, and how the hell do we know? Anyway, so I know I've seen you. I think I'm trying to remember where we first met. I think you came to see me in Brighton when I was doing was it the Brighton Festival, and you brought your boys to see me, but you weren't allowed in. Was that the gig?
Yeah, that wasn't the first time I'd met you, though.
No, it wasn't. Okay.
I'd met you. We were gigging together in Wellingborough.
That was where I first saw you work, mate, and I was in awe of your act. Your act was incredible. So yeah, I don't think I've seen you work before that, actually. So
no, that's okay. Yeah, because I got it. Yeah, mixed up. Because I knew you were on at Brighton, and yeah, you're right. I came to bring the boys, and then the venue were like, no kids allowed, and it was like, okay. And then, what was great though, and the boys still talk about it, is that you came down and met them, which was really nice.
Yeah, when I saw you and your 2 boys, there was more people there than there was in the venue, so it was nice to see the other half of the audience that couldn't get in.
Yeah. Well, because it was the Carolina Brunswick you'd done, wasn't it? Well, the Carolina Brunswick.
Yeah, it was. I think it was my mate Jim Grant put it on. I think he put some comedy nights on in Brighton. But there was just, I don't know, there was just no one there. It was like, I felt like I was doing Edinburgh Festival, but it only had one stab at it and no one turned up.
Yeah.
So I love that about comedy though. It's this risk you take in your business, isn't it? In the comedy business, you do a festival, you put your heart into doing a 4-week I've not done Edinburgh yet.
No, I've
I'd
done
love
a week in Edinburgh.
Have
That's all
you?
I've done, and I think a week is enough for me.
Yeah, I was planning to do a week, and then people were telling me, you need to do the full run because you need to get the memento. You need to get the reviews in the first week and get people to come and see you in the second, third week. And then if your reviews are glowing, then you need to pack out the last week. And it takes years to get to that status, doesn't it? It's hard work.
Yeah, I found that when I was there for the week, that unless you had a good PR team and a good marketing team, it just seemed not as beneficial as what it probably used to be.
Yes.
When like Lee Evans and Frank Skinner, when they were doing it, and it became back then it was a big thing, wasn't it? It just feels that unless you've got, because I've seen some great acts in venues that just didn't suit them, and it was just kind of, I don't know. If someone had a
wasted.
cupboard under the stairs, they'd flog it for you for $5,000, and it's
Wow.
just like okay. And it was just, I don't know. It just didn't. That's the vibe I got. But then you're probably right in what you're saying. If you do it for a week, if you do it for the whole run, and you get out there and you get to obviously network and do.
Yeah, guaranteed to get seen.
Yeah, and do what obviously a lot of the acts do that that have done it year after year and worked your way up the ladder, so to speak. I could probably see that being but as I say, I've only done a week, and the week I'd done was in 2016, I want to say.
Okay.
15, 16.
Right.
So many years ago.
I think you do need a good sponsor and a good management to back you all the way. And I was planning to do Edinburgh Festival, and then I worked it out. It's going to cost me about $10,000 to do the 4 weeks with accommodation and publicising, PR, everything. And then an agent phoned me up and said, "Steve, I've got these gigs for you in August." I went, "Oh, okay. What are they?" And he showed me how much it was worth. It was worth what I was going to spend. Do I spend $10,000, which I ain't got because I had a little girl at the time. No, I had a wife. We had a little girl. I didn't just have a little girl. That was, and then this agent offered me $10,000 worth of work, and so it just made more sense to put it on hold, and it's still on hold. I've never done Edinburgh, but I've got a show. I've got a show now. I'd like to take up there, so I may take it seriously. But you do need to have $10,000 to throw away, don't you?
Well, that's it, isn't it? And it's having that money to burn. And like you said, when all the comedians for August head up to Edinburgh, that kind of leaves all these venues without comedians, where you just think, oh, okay, and obviously, where you can cash in and where you can go, yeah, great, and as you say, you can either spend $10,000 or earn $10,000.
Yeah. So stay down.
It's a bit of a no-brainer, really, when you when you think about it, especially when, as you say, like yourself, I've got kids as well, and you kind of think about it, and you're like, well, I won't even buy myself a pair of shoes, let alone spend $10,000.
I know, that's true.
It just seems a bit.
Yeah, it's crazy. But we have since gigged together, and it was that one Wellingborough, wasn't it? And what a great night!
It was in Wellingborough for Joke Club.
Yes, Joke Club. It was so good. I love your style of writing and performing. You've got such a fast-paced delivery and so quick-witted, and we can see that from your ad-libbing, audience participation. I just loved getting to know your act, because we met as people, and then I got to watch you as an actor. We were both on that night, and it was such a great audience as well. I think it was.
I think that
Keris Nelms was Keris Nelms on as well.
That night I was MC.
Yes.
And that night we had Richard Morton.
Oh, blimey! Right. Yes, of course.
Richard Morton and yourself. I've still got the picture. It's on my Facebook somewhere, but I've definitely got it, because I've got the picture with Simon. Because you had Simon with you that night.
Oh, it was little Simon Cowell, yeah.
I know when we had it all together, there was me, you, Richard, and I think there was a middle spot as well, but I can't think who it was off the top of my head.
Yeah, I thought it was Keris Nelms. I'm not sure, because she was brilliant. She may have been actually a week before that. It was a great night, and Richard's a superstar, isn't he? Richard Morton. I really... Yeah. I grew up watching him on Channel 4. He was a brilliant act.
Yeah, what I love about it is, when you see acts like yourself and Richard, and you get to work with these sorts of acts, and it's like, you don't realise the calibre of what they've got in their canon.
No.
Richard Morton being a Channel 5 presenter, you wouldn't have thought so, because speaking to him, he's so down to earth, helpful, he's got time to talk, give you the time of day, whereas, you would have thought that having it's only then when you come away from it, you think, wow, he's done loads, he's incredible. And to have that sort of personality and to have them sort of mannerisms where it just doesn't faze him, and everyone's on a level playing field is just incredible. And it's the same with yourself as well. That's why I love gigging with you because with what you've done and with your background and with your reputation, you can walk in, especially an act like yourself, where he's like, oh wow, you're in company of real men here. You're like the godfathers of comedy.
But they really do inspire you, and it's brilliant to be on the same bill as them.
I think it inspires me more off stage how to conduct yourself than it does how to perform on stage.
That's very important, actually. Yeah, how to be off stage. Oh yeah, completely.
To have that, as I say, like Richard Morton, the way he conducted himself, or conducts himself off stage, he's just dead nice, chatty, have a laugh.
He was a gentleman, wasn't he? A complete gent.
Yeah. I mean, I've gigged with Richard a few times, and he's incredible.
Eyes and teeth. I was a good friend of Keith Harris. He was one of my idols, and I know you've worked with Keith, because he used to phone me up, and we really became quite close. And he used to say things like, "I've been to a couple of places, a couple of theatres or holiday parks like Butlins, or I've just done a theatre, and the crew there have said what a delightful man you are." And that meant more to me than how I went down that night. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's when someone like Keith Harris said, "I've heard about what you're like sort of backstage," and he said keep it up, and he said it goes a long way, and I've never forgot that, I think, and it does go a long way. It's what
it does, because I'm sure we've been into venues where
you can't be a shit act, by the way. You have to be good as well. There's no point in being nice and being a crap act.
Yeah, that is true. Right, but I think what Keith said to you there is massively important, because I'm sure we've both gone into venues where it's been the other way around, where, say, the week before they've had an act who wasn't nice off stage, very rude, very abrupt, for whatever reason. I'm not saying that that's their personality, but it's obviously their memory of them.
Sure.
Because of how it is, and then it kind of then works. It goes against them, and you can hear if they were due to go back there, or it can do a lot of damage. And you just think, especially because. Again, I'm sure, like yourself, that you'll go to venues, and if there's, say we're doing a holiday park, for example, and then there's an entertainer there, and they'll then start having digs and pops at the act that was on previously, or the previous weeks. Yeah. And then it's like, they don't know that you're friends with that act, and it's one of them. It's like, you go, well, actually, he's my mate, or did you not? It's the way that it's conducted, and it's just a little bit.
This business is very small. You just got to be careful who you're talking to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It may look big from the outside, but when you're on the inside, it's, as you say, it's just so connected, small, and loyal as well. I'd like to say.
Yeah. I do like loyalty. that's always nice. Goes a long way.
That story you said about Keith Harris, I could tell you now, genuinely. I worked with him in 2007 when I was working at Haven. I was working at Haven as a presenter at Lakeland, and I remember when I got because I was in charge of the live acts and making sure that they were all right, sound check. They would liaise through me and stuff. And I remember growing up, I wouldn't say I'm a ventriloquist by any means, but it is my favourite art form. I grew up, that's why I admire you and I love you, and I've heard about your new show, and when that comes to fruition, I'll definitely be getting a ticket for that.
Yeah, I can't wait to do it. I know which one you're talking about. Thank you, mate. I
heard you talking about it the other day when, I won't go into it, but I heard you talking about it, and it sounds incredible. Every element of the show that you've got, and I'll come and see it just to see, again, because I love ventriloquism. Keith Harris was my idol. I used to love watching him on the Royal Variety Performances or TV, and anything he was on, I would always watch it. And when I found out I was working with him in 2007, it was just so surreal.
That's amazing.
And again, it's one of those, he's such a big star.
Yeah.
When you look at his CV, and he could have such an ego. He could have, but he's the nicest man I've ever met. Nicest man I've ever met. And like yourself, he kind of took me under his wing, because I had, as I say, I'm not a ventriloquist, but I had a puppet at the time.
Right.
And after he'd finished his gig and stuff, or after he'd finished his show, went down the storm, he invited me round to his caravan that night to go and have a cup of tea with him, but take my puppet along. So I took my puppet along, and he was just giving me tips and advice and stuff. And
that's like you going to a nightclub and you can't come in without a tie. You're not coming in with a caravan without a puppet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He just did that, but he didn't. It's one of those. He didn't have to. He didn't have to do any of that.
Yeah.
You know, he'd obviously done his show. He'd done what he was there, and you know, again, like yourself, and he gave me a signed DVD. We chatted there in his van for about an hour and a half. We were just talking.
Wow.
Him and his. Do you remember his roadie Keith?
Was it Kiwi?
Yeah, Kiwi. Yeah, but I think his name was Keith, wasn't it? Or Kiwi? Yeah.
Yeah. Kiwi. We just sadly lost him a few weeks ago. That's very sad.
You're joking?
Yeah, his driver. Very sad, mate. Sorry to break that to you.
Yeah,
during the podcast.
Yeah. But we were just all in there, and we were just all. It was again just no airs and graces. It was just, you know, I'm sat there next to showbiz royalty, whilst these guys handing me puppet, teaching me obviously, you know, the best way to do it. And
did you say puppet? I thought you said pocket.
He's got his hand in my pocket. Yeah.
He always gave me loads of time, you know. He was so good to me we met on a TV show when I was 16. So from then onwards, he was just so good to me. I miss him a lot, and it's nice he's had that big impact on you as well.
Oh, massive! Because then he gave me after I left, had me cup of tea, and he showed me like the key elements of what I needed to do. We kept in touch. He gave me his number. And he did exactly the same with me as what he'd do with you. Like, every now and again, he'd ring me up. How's it going? How's the season? How's the ventriloquism? It's like, yeah, because there was loads, as I say, that he taught me. So we'd talk about it, have a bit of a natter, a bit of a chat.
Yeah.
And I remember he was performing at another haven. It was an owners event. So as a team, we went over to this other park.
Oh,
and
nice.
he knew I was in. And it was just bizarre. It was crazy because there's a bit, you know, when him and Cuddles are doing ventriloquism.
yeah.
And you start arguing. He's like, you know, you're going to do ventriloquism? And all that. And you just start arguing. I was sat there with everyone and I was watching it, just loving what I was watching. And then all of a sudden, Cuddles turned in my direction. So I don't know whether he knew where I was sat or what. Turned in my direction. He was like, are you watching this, Ginger Phil? Are you watching this? He's going to do ventriloquism. Are you watching this? And because he said Ginger Phil, everyone on my table knew that he was talking to me. And I was like, oh, what do I do here? And I was just proper, I can't believe Cuddles has just spoke to me. It was honestly the most surreal. If you said that to me when I was a kid, that, you know, when you're watching them on the Royal Variety, that, oh yeah, when you're 21, you're going to be sat in the audience, and Cuddles is going to, you know, talk to you. It's like, okay, and it's just so bizarre. But again, that just shows the character of who he was, and such an incredible man. And like, you know, like yourself, I miss him as well. And you just think,
bless. You miss them phone calls, but it's so nice. But I guess he saw you as the real Cuddles because you had the same hair. So
I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
I got him Cuddles' as dad.
That's really nice, that, mate. A nice story.
Oh, conversational.
What sort of comedians did you watch when you were growing up?
My biggest influence was Lee Evans. He was...
Mine too.
Lee Evans. Everything about him. I remember... Because I used to watch comedy with my dad. That's how I got into comedy. So he'd watch, you know, Freddie Starr and Mike Reid and people like that, and Frank Carson.
Wow, brilliant.
And he'd be watching it. And I remember I'd be sat there with my dad and Keith Harris as well. You know, all like comedians and comics and Cannonball and all that. And
Little and Large, all of those.
Yeah, you sat there watching him. But as a kid, I didn't really understand it. But what I used to love is watching my dad laugh. Does that make sense? And obviously the whole laughter is infectious. So I used to get joy of watching my dad laugh at, you know, these acts on TV. And I remember saying, it was 95, 9 years old I would have been. And I asked for a stand-up tape then, wasn't it? There was no DVD back then, VHS.
Betamax, VHS.
Yeah. And they got me Lee Evans' Ultimate Experience, which, if I'm right, I think that was 95. But it's when he does the 3 shows. So Her Majesty's Tour,
Yeah,
Live at
I
the
got
West
that.
End,
Yeah.
and then there's another one, and he just merges it all into like one show when it's just click, 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 click.
Yes.
And they got me that, and I just remember I used to watch him, and I'd cry at his mannerisms, cry laughing, obviously, not cry.
All right.
I'd just cry laughing, and it reversed between me and my dad. When I used to love watching him laugh, he'd make me watch Lee Evans, and then just watch me laugh. So it kind of went full circle. And
That's really nice, isn't it?
Yeah, 2001. I got a ticket to go and see him in Manchester. Before he went to do the arenas, he'd done the Weird and Wonderful tour, where he did it in Wembley.
Wembley, yeah.
Up until then, he was doing all the theatres around. And I went to see him at the Lowry in Manchester, and he's a massive influence. And he's the reason why I wouldn't say my act is anything like him, but he's the reason why I do comedy, because of how he made me feel. If I can make someone feel 1/10 of what he made me feel, then I've done all right in my job.
Ah, that's nice. He's really inspired me as well. I really, really adore his comedy. I think he's one of the greatest stand-ups we've ever had. There was one time I was working at the London Palladium, and I would always book myself. I was an usher at the Palladium, so Oliver was on for 9 months, but every Sunday there was a concert on. It was Joe Longthorne, or we had Frank Skinner, and Lee Evans. Yeah. Lee Evans came. It was the end of '94, I think. And Lee Evans was doing this two shows in one night. And I remember because Jimmy Tamley, ventriloquist who taught me, came to see one of the shows with his wife. And also Lee's mum and dad were there, Dave and Shirley, who I'd heard about quite a lot because Dave worked on the cruise ships. So anyway, I was the runner for the day. So they said, can you come in early? Just check that the acts have got water, and if they need anything, just knock every now and again. And I went, yeah, I'll do that. It's Lee Evans, and Hattie Hayridge was there supporting, and another one, Jeff Green as well. So these three were on the bill. And so I was running. I had to knock on Lee's door, and I remember he was so nervous, and we chatted. And he was, I can't believe I'm at the Palladium. He couldn't believe where he was working that night. He said, I'm so nervous. He was pacing up and down. And, like Keith was, he wanted to ask how I was doing. And then that night, he went out and done the show. And I told him, obviously, what I did. I said, I'm a budding ventriloquist. I'm just not working. So I had a few gigs that year. And then he went out there, and within 5 minutes, he had this little glass of water, and he put his hand over it and went, he'd done a little bit of it, and he turned round, he went, there's a little bit of ventriloquism for you, Steve. And I went, and all of the other usherettes and ushers turned round and looked at me where I was standing in the Palladium, and I went red. You wouldn't have seen it, but I was like, oh my God, he just mentioned my name. And it makes you feel so great, when you get mentioned. I mean, you got mentioned by Cuddles. I'd have loved that as well.
Exactly, so the feeling that you had, but I was obviously, everyone that was on my table, because he said Ginger Phil, and when I worked as a presenter, that's the name that I went under, so it wasn't like he just said Phil.
Yeah.
He singled me out, and it was one of those, like, again, like yourself, I went red, beaming smile on my face, but it was just, again, incredible. That feeling that you have, and it's like, okay, and it's just, he didn't have to do that, because we know now that, with that sort, with the show that strong, he didn't have to do that to make me feel a part of it, because he would have smashed the show anyway.
You're known as the class clown at school. Were you? Did you do pranks or verbal gags to get laughs? What were you like as a kid? And was it in Manchester you grew up?
No, I grew up on the Whittle, so it's in between Chester and Liverpool. So there's it's the A41 that runs through, and I grew up in a town called Ellesmere Port. And
heard of it?
Yeah. I grew up there, so I wasn't in Manchester or anything. I went to drama school in Manchester because that was the nearest one.
Okay.
But I didn't grow up there.
We really got into Shameless in the last couple of months. We started to watch it from episode 1. I'd never seen any, and we're hooked on it.
The English one, the English Shameless.
The English one, yeah, we love it, mate.
I'm in that one.
I've been doing some research, and you're actually in it. So I've not noticed you yet. I think we just started season 5. I think. Or 4. I think we're on 4.
Oh, no, you would have already missed me.
Well, have we missed you?
Yeah, you would have already missed me. In the first season, it's when, Jodie, the little boy, or a little girl. Well,
Yeah.
he's a little boy, isn't he? But then
Yeah.
Debbie turns him into a little girl.
Oh, okay.
When he goes missing from the party, and that hippie gets battered outside the shops.
Oh,
you know, the
yes.
guy with the long dreadlocks.
Yeah, that weren't long ago, actually.
Yeah, if you're looking at the screen, I'm on the right hand side.
Okay.
I'm a teenager because I've only got one chin, which is good. So yeah, but yeah, it's just like get him. I've got a cream jumper on as well, cream jumper and jeans. Yeah, so there's that one, and then there's only like background extra work or whichever. And it was
Yeah.
nice. It was good. I mean, like for when was that? 2000. When did I do it?
Oh, 10 or 11, wasn't it, or something?
No, it was 2000. When I done the extra work, it must have been 2001. No, 2002, 2003, or 3 and 4.
Oh, okay.
They kind of like when the first season or series went out and it took off. They kind of like got a few in the bag, and the agency that I was with, the TV agency that I was with, they had a lot of connections with the casting and stuff, and so I was in it for that. And then the season 3 that I was in was when Frank Gallagher was hiding in the horse and jockey, because his dad came to stay with him.
Yeah.
And he didn't want, yeah. And I was playing pool. It opens up on my face, but there's just no expression, because it's just like, oh, I'm just playing pool. Had I have known, I probably would have given it a little bit. Oh yeah, that was a good shot, right? Yeah. But I didn't.
Oh, mate,
yeah,
do you know what? We're totally hooked on this. We don't watch soaps because they're depressing. So we don't watch any news or any soaps here. We just watch comedy. And we said, should we try Shameless? Because we've done everything else. We've done Star Wars. We've done Tiger King. We've done everything you were supposed to watch last year. And then we started to get into Shameless. And I went, yeah, I love that. Let's do another one. And literally, we do at least 1 or 2 a night now. And it's like our soap, you know. It's amazing. The writing is incredible. It's so gripping. But
no, it is good. As I say, I mean, I'm not going to claim to be part of the team and that, but I know the guy who plays Ian.
Oh yeah. He's great actor.
Yeah, Jared Kearns. He was in our drama crew. He was in our drama school in my class.
Was he? Wow.
So it was nice when we went on and, as I say, did the few days filming that we done. I think it was about 4 or 5 days filming worth of like extras and background stuff and whatnot.
Okay.
And when we done that, it was just great because because it was his first professional job, and it was like we were back in school and stuff. It was just he had a bit more authority because of who he was, and he had a bit more, obviously, you know, he had a star on the door. We had a little bus, which was great. But it was great to obviously have that feeling of we all felt like one. It wasn't like, you know, segregated, which was
Oh, that's nice. Oh, that's amazing. No, we enjoyed that, and I noticed that you've been in Shameless, so well done, mate. It's we're big fans. So, Ice and Teeth.
No, in school, I did well in the subjects that I loved, but I messed around in subjects that I didn't really care for,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
Yeah,
so it's not like I wasn't one of these students that gave it 100% in every lesson and all this, and you know, I would mess around. Like French, I wasn't a fan of French, and there was one lesson I locked my French teacher out because she went into the next class, and then I just stood up and locked the door, sat back down as if nothing had happened. That was quite funny, and luckily as well, she found it quite funny. But we used to like lock horns all the time. Me and my French teacher. I won't tell you her name just in case she's listening. But I asked her for because a pencil case, you want to get like the little rulers, don't you? Well, we had to do this.
Yeah.
We were doing this drawing, and I went up to the desk and asked her for a 30-centimetre ruler. This will give you the sort of calibre of a child that I was. I went, Miss, can I get a 30-centimetre rule, please? And then she went, have you not got one? And I said, well, no, that's why I'm asking you. And she went, why haven't you got one? I said, because it won't fit in my pencil case. She went, haven't you got a bag? And I said, yeah, but it won't be shatterproof, because it'd just be a normal ruler. And then she went, oh, you've got an answer for everything, you haven't you, Phil? And I went, well, not everything, but I'd like to think, you know. And it was just that sort of, that's the sort of child I was, and it was just, I was never naughty. I would say cheeky and the class clown. And I remember the best, and I mean, you know, even to this day, it still makes me laugh and smile. The best practical joke I've ever pulled is I got on really well with the secretaries and the office ladies and stuff. And I'd got there, if I had to give the register in or if I had to take a note in and that, we'd always have like a little bit of a laugh and a little bit of banter.
Yeah.
And one of the young ladies, she gave me a pen that had obviously been confiscated from someone. But it was, one end was a pen, the other end was a water gun.
Where's this going?
That is you've given the wrong thing to the wrong person here. So the next lesson I had after that, I was like, oh yeah, brilliant, because it was on lunch break. I went and filled it up, and the next lesson I had was history. And again, it's one of those. It was a lesson that I kind of semi-studied, but I wasn't too bothered about learning too much of it. For some unbeknown reason, I was sat on the front row. The teacher, Mr. Clark, I'll tell you his name because this is funny. He came and kneeled at my desk. Right, kneeled at my desk as in like one knee on the floor, one knee up. That sort of kneeling.
Oh yeah.
Right in front of me, and I was like, nah, I can't waste this opportunity. And I got the pen out of my pocket, and I was just, whilst he was doing the register, so he was like, Phil Reid, I was like, yeah, here, and going through, Craig had it, yeah, he's going through. I was just spraying this pen, just aiming it. I didn't look, I was just thought, I'll have a quick aim and see what, I'll guesstimate of where I'm going, and I was spraying this pen. I unloaded the whole pen that I had of the water that I had in there, and he stood up, and the class uproared because it just looked like he'd wet himself. It was hilarious. Genuinely, to this day, it still makes me laugh. And I got away with it.
He didn't know you'd done that?
Someone grasped me in, and then the next week he came up to me in the corridor and he was like, Reedy! Yeah? He went, I believe you've got a pen that's also a water gun. And I was like, no, what are you talking about? He goes, give it here. And he went through my bag and obviously confiscated it. And I was like, wow. And I found out it was my best mate's sister, I told him. I was fuming.
Oh, dear. So whose pen was it in the first place? Was it
I don't know.
Your best mate's sister?
I had no idea. But it had obviously been used in a similar type of way and then been confiscated and then sent to the office.
Oh, do you know what? There's another prankster. There's another young comedian in your school you didn't know about because they've done the same thing.
Yeah, but then when the pen got given to me, I was like, no, don't waste it. So that's the sort of child at school I was.
Oh, brilliant.
When I wasn't naughty and I didn't get into any fights, but I was just, an idiot, if you like. And
yeah.
Again,
I'm the same.
On 15 years on and be paid to be an idiot. I've not done too bad.
If only those teachers knew that, they'd let you keep the pen.
Yeah.
But from school and sixth form college, I actually went from there to a holiday park as an entertainer in Barry Island. I was 17 when I got there. But where did you go from school? Where did you go next? Because I'm just obviously trying to get to your first comedy club set. So what did you do in between leaving school?
Right, so from school, I didn't go on to sixth form or college or anything.
No.
I went straight into work, and I was working in a sports shop. And that was from 16 through to 18. And then 18, there was a bingo club opening up in our town. And they were looking for callers and stuff. And I just thought, because I was doing drama in between that time as well. So I was working in the sports shop and I was doing drama school. And I remember getting the bug for doing comedy or doing anything live when my tutor asked me to compare a showcase.
Yes.
Again, the mentality I've always had is never say no. Always say yes, because you don't know, if, the old thing of, can you ride a horse? Yeah, of course I can. And then learn to ride it after.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
blagging it.
Always had that. He said, would I be able to compare the showcase that we've got in for the parents and a few casting directors? And I was like, yeah, no worries, I can do that. I then asked him obviously what he needed me to do, and he said, just go on, and whilst we're striking down one play and we're setting up for the next play, just go on, say, ladies and gentlemen, and he gave me a few lines to say, and and a few little, we're going to do a little bit of a warm up now. What I need you to do is put your hands up in the air, put your hands out to the side, and now lower them down into the laps, and all this, and just little one-liners that he was giving me. And I found that when I was going out and doing it, I was getting more of a buzz because I wasn't hiding behind a character. Because as you know, if you do anything scripted and you get a laugh, you've delivered it well, but you've only delivered the line that was written. It was written to get a laugh.
Yes, that's true.
So when I was going on in between, and it got to the point where, I don't know, I think we had like 6 or 7 different performances on, and I was in 2 different plays.
Okay.
And then when I was going on as myself, towards the end of it, people were getting excited that I was coming back out. And I just remember at the end as well, this is what really made me go, wow, okay, this is like a powerful thing, a powerful tool of having that, you know, your brain, that audience, and no script. I asked the audience to give a round of applause to everyone that had taken part. So obviously all the cast, all the crews, the sound, the light, everyone backstage, the director, give them a round of applause. And then I said, and now can I just say from myself and the cast and the crew, sound, light, director and everyone. And I got on my knees, and you know when you do that worship bow?
Oh, yeah. Wayne's World.
The audience. And as I was doing that, when I was coming up, people were taking pictures, and it was like paparazzi. There was just flashes going off everywhere. As I was like, I would go, because I remember bowing down and going, "Oh, this is surreal," and then coming back up, and then and then I went off, got changed, and as I came out, loads of people approached me and just went like how much they enjoyed me and the bits that I done, and as well as the performances and the play and stuff, and it was just that's what gave me the bug for then live comedy. I then had a chat with the agent about, you know, like going down that route of like live work and stuff and comedy and how did you get into it? And she gave me the number and the address for the Frog and Bucket in Manchester, which is a very, very well-known and very famous...
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah, in Manchester. And I did a Beat the Frog. My first comedy gig, I was 18, and I did that. Again, I got the job at Mecca Bingo and stuff, so I was used to, like...
Yeah, so you got to be a bit of a cheeky chappy, a bit of adlibbing on the microphone at the bingo, and that kind of give you the experience to work the audience.
Yeah, well, just, I mean, like, when you look back at the time, you don't think anything of it, but,
no.
You know, when you look back at it now, it's like, it is steps to where you are now. So
training.
So I'd done my first comedy club gig when I was 18, but I remember, the competition was called Beat the Frog, and you had to last 5 minutes. But I didn't last 5 minutes. I lasted 3.5 minutes because my mind went blank because I got overwhelmed by everyone. It was going well because I lasted 3.5 minutes, which is past halfway, so you're not doing too bad.
Yeah.
But my mind just went blank, and I could hear and see people going, go on, you can do this, you can do this. So they were obviously enjoying what I was doing. I can't remember for the life of me what jokes I'd said.
Yeah.
But they were obviously enjoying it, and then I just went, and they kind of took pity on me, and it's one of those where there's 3 cards out in the audience, and all the cards went up, and then I went off. And I needed to get over that fear of being stood on a stage and having eyes at me and me learning to talk.
Yes.
So then, as I say, and doing the bingo calling, that obviously helped me a little bit, gain a little bit of personality. And in 2005, the customers at the bingo hall entered me into Bingo Caller of the Year, which I don't think it runs anymore. But I got through to the regional final of Bingo Caller of the Year. And as far as I'm aware, at 18, I think I'm still the youngest ever regional finalist.
First certificate in the bag.
Which is bizarre because, again, you look at it and I was up against, like bingo callers that have been in the bingo game for 15, 20 years. And you're like, okay, and
yeah.
You don't expect anything from it, but it just then set me up. And then I think I was 19 when I took part in that. And then when I was 20, then I got my job at Haven Holidays.
Okay, brilliant.
In 2006, so yeah. No, I'd only done it for 3 years.
Oh, okay.
I'd done it for 4 seasons. So I'd done 2006, 2007, 2008, and then 2009. So yeah, four seasons I've done.
That's a really, really great way to get your groundwork in, isn't it? And did they let you do any of the hosting at all, on the microphone, so you could just really get those skills honed and get used to the audience and You seem to be so natural on a microphone. You're so quick-witted. You've got all the versatility, and you adapt really well to different audiences. So I think your observational style is really very unique. And you've got your set pieces, but you're also really good off script. And so, and I guess that's the groundwork, isn't it? In the holiday parks and stuff, you get to do that sort of work. Did you have that chance to do that in Haven?
Yeah, massively. As I say, because initially I only took a job at Haven to get over that initial fear of having eyes staring at you.
Right.
When you look out into the audience and all you see is eyes and teeth.
Yeah. Thanks for the plug.
You're welcome. To get over that fear of having everyone just staring at you, that's why I took the job at Haven. And in 2006, I think we were all pretty much a brand new team. So I was always pushing myself to, present. Can I present game show? Can I present kids hour? Can I present this? Can I present that? And, and it obviously got me recognised, because then what turned into 1 year, the following year, they renewed my contract but invited me back as presenter.
Oh, nice.
So, and that was at Lakeland, obviously, where I met Keith. So having that responsibility, and I thought, well, do you know what? I was only going to go for 1 year, but I can't see it doing me any damage if I go back and, again, that's more stage time, that's more audience, that's more, reading the room and having that, and development and having all that. So that was 2007, and then 2008, I got asked back again, but I got given my own venue. That was up in Scotland, in Craig Tara. I don't know if you've ever have you done Craig Tara?
I done it about 2 years ago on an owners party. Yeah. Good venue. Because
it's Scotland, you know how patriotic they are and stuff, and I found that a bit of a challenge as well. But it was a good challenge and a great challenge, and I really loved it and enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And again, because I got given my own venue, I got given the adult venue. It was obviously you've still got to be holiday park. There's no swearing or effing and jeffing and stuff. But it was nice to have that, the reins off a little bit. I'll tell you, one of the biggest things that developed me and my personality on stage was quiz. Now, okay. I know people that hate doing a quiz. Oh, I hate doing a quiz. I can't stand it. It's boring, this, that, and the other. Whereas I found that my perfect tool to learn how to throw in and develop, say, the adlibs and stuff. And I remember... And again, it was one of those where, as you say, the ad-lib comes in. I got away with this, but I don't know how I got away with it. Because, again, when you're on stage and stuff and you introduce us, I was like, I'm Ginger Phil, I'm your host, and compare, blah, 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 and this, that, and the other. I remember the quiz was going really well. We were laughing, we were chatting, we were bantering back and forth. There wasn't many tables in, but I remember there was a woman on the front, and I was like, "Oh, you're a bit of a foxy lady, aren't you?" Right, just a little bit of on-stage flirting, as I'm sure we've all done in the past. And she was like, "Right, son, maybe in 20 years." Right, and I went, "Yeah, but in 20 years you'll be dead." Right, and it just came out, right, honestly, to the point that everyone looked at me and went, "What have you just said?" And there was no filter from brain to mouth. It was just like, "Yeah, but in 20 years you'll be dead." Right, well, luckily, I got away with it. She found it hilarious, and it was one of those that then people, when they saw her laughing, they then laughed.
Yes.
And it kind of rolled that way, but it was one of those that could have gone the other way. But that sort of environment, as I say, like with the quiz, that definitely helped me. And just any bit of stage time, and then you build up the rapport, you build up I'll say fan base, but I'll use that term loosely. But people that
I know what you mean.
To see what you're doing, how you're doing it, and this, that, and the other. And then 2009, I went back, and then I met the ex-partner, who then we ended up having kids with, so then we left. And then I took a few years out, so that's been pretty much it, before I then started doing what I'm doing now.
Okay, so you went into stand-up then, after a couple of years with kids growing up, and then straight onto the circuit. And so when was your first, comedy club booking, where you went in there and you done a full set, you loved it, and never looked back? When was that?
I would probably say the first proper chance I was given in a comedy club was Miles Crawford at Joke Club.
Oh, he's great, isn't he? I love Miles.
He's been such a help and is such an inspiration to me. And we're really good friends now, and we're often chatting and just sort of talking, not even about work, which is what's nice. We've
Yeah.
developed and built that friendship.
That's
but
nice.
I remember, because when you're off the scene for a few years, bear in mind I was off the scene from when I was 18 really, and then up to 23.
Okay.
That I was actually then back on, so I'd had a fair few years off. As you know, it's then starting from the bottom and then working your way up.
Yeah.
I remember I got talking to Miles, and obviously with Joe Club, and he offered me a few gigs, and I remember some, the advice he'd always give me. I'd take it away, work on it, and came back. It was nice he helped me so much that I think it was nice for him to see that the advice he'd given me, I'd taken it on board, worked on it, and come back.
Yeah,
and
that's
done
important.
It instead of, being one of these acts that you try and help and nothing goes in. It's just like, yeah, okay, and you can't see it. And yeah, so Miles has been probably my biggest help within the business, definitely within like developing my acting and honing my characteristic on stage.
Yes.
Of how you are in your stage personality. So
how to put it across,
Joe Club,
definitely.
I would say, and then it's just kind of gone on, and then like through there, and it's just been different avenues, different paths, but getting a feather out of each one to stick in your cap.
Yeah, that's amazing. The learning process and just sort of building every year it's exciting, isn't it, in our job, because we do find that every year kind of gets better and easier. And I'm disregarding 2020, but if you if you're thinking about your quick wit, and you're quite unique. When I watched you stood out to me as a stand-up, because you've got some brilliant routines. What is your writing process? Do you write with anyone, or do you just write? Because your routines are really brilliant, and you do a lot of self-deprecating stuff, don't you, about yourself? So
yeah, I think so. I think especially when I'm doing comedy clubs, because having ginger hair, it's such an easy target.
Right.
And for anyone. So what I tend to do is within the first minute is I'll acknowledge and take the mick out of myself for being ginger. So that kind of then does two things. It puts the audience at ease, because I don't know whether they don't know that I've got ginger hair.
yeah.
It's like, when I come on stage, it's like, oh, does he know that he's ginger? And it's like, yeah, we acknowledge it. And it kind of puts him at ease, but then also as well, if you then say something about yourself, like, I'm ginger or whatever.
Yeah.
Whoever was then going to say maybe heckle that through the night has got nothing.
Yeah, they can't say that you're ginger.
I've already done it.
We all know you're ginger now. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like, okay, so
he's got nothing. That's true.
I don't tend to do it that much now, because I used to have, when I first started, I used to have like a load of like, I'll say ginger material.
yeah.
It just became so easy.
Rather than blue material.
Say that again.
Rather than blue material.
yeah. But it just became so easy that it became boring. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Challenge for me.
Yeah, totally.
It was good, and it always got a laugh, and it always worked. But it just became, as I say, it just became so easy that it just became a bit like, okay, well, I think again, like you said, where you analyse yourself a lot, and you're always questioning yourself and taking yourself out of the picture, going, like, okay, well, what am I going to do now? And really pushing that and coming away from it, and throwing it in every now and again. Because then also as well, what I then found is when I didn't do it, if someone say then did heckle it, then I've got like a fair few minutes on ripping me, which then comes across funny as if I've just thought of it on the spot.
Right, nice, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's just, which that's obviously, that looks ad-libbed, and the majority of my stuff is ad-libbed, but it's just, as I say, coming away from doing like, the ginger jokes and stuff and whatnot, I don't do it as much. I still do it because I still feel that it needs acknowledgement, some sort.
Oh, conversational.
The writing process, I don't know. I remember working with John Bishop years and years ago, before John Bishop was John Bishop.
Okay.
And I remember we were working together in Liverpool, and we would just talk backstage, and I remember him just saying, just do it. Like all this writing that you're doing, he said, you can rehearse it and rehearse it and rehearse it and rehearse it, in your bedroom in front of your mirror as much as you want, you know, and you may think it's the best thing ever, but the only audience that are the only people that are going to tell you are the audience.
Yeah, it's true.
You know, and it's, you know, and again, like when you go away and you write material and you think, oh, that's really good, that, but then you actually do it and it's like, I didn't get what I thought I was going to get. And then you then go away and work on it. So all this situation of, you know, I know people that would write and never perform it. And it's like, why aren't you performing it? Well, because I don't know if it's ready. And you're like, right, okay.
Wow.
You know, I'm not going to teach you how to suck eggs, but, you know, I don't know how you can not know it's not ready if a live audience hasn't seen it. Because they're your judge, jury, and execution at the end of the day.
Yeah, definitely. You need to put it out in front of the audience, or you will never know. And I've found that out sort of in the last few years. Really, I started to bring out some routines I've written years and years ago, and I started to put some into the new show that I told you about, and it works. I only done the new show twice before the first lockdown, but that idea works, and the ideas within and the gags I wrote actually work, and I'm gutted I never started this 10 years ago, because it's you know, I think it's a brilliant piece, and so I can't wait to get it back out there. But you do need to work it, and you need the audience to know if the idea is going to work as well. And so there's no way I would have known if I didn't open up the show last year, and I can't wait to re-rehearse it, rewrite it, and get it back on the road again. So it's and it is about experience as well, isn't it? Eyes and teeth. You then went on to do loads of comedy talent competitions as well, and you were doing really well. So 2014 and 15, you're Joker of the Year. How did you get to that? And where was that? Was that in London or Liverpool?
Yeah, that was in Essex.
Oh, okay.
Because I moved down to West Sussex. I moved down to Brighton or Worthing in 2009 after I left Haven. All right. Moved down there, and then there's a friend of mine who wanted to do it. So as I say, I mean, I had a few years off. I was doing like the odd gig here and there to try and keep my toe in the water, but nothing significant. Okay. And then I remember 2013, I thought I'll kind of get back into it and do a little bit more. And then 2014, a friend of mine said that he lives in Essex, and he said, "Oh, there's a competition called Joker of the Year. Do you want to enter it with me?"
Did you take your squirty water pen?
Yeah, no, the teacher took that.
Oh, it's such a great opener.
Squirt the judges. Come on.
Yeah. Sorry, go on.
No, so it's a bit of a surreal story because we entered it together, as in, like, you know, I submitted my form and got into the competition. He submitted his form and got into the competition. Right. And I went and did my heat, and I got through, and he pulled out of his heat. Oh, so then he never done it. But then I got, as I say, I done mine and got through, and then got to the semi-final and got through to the final, and then ended up winning it. And it's one of those where you just think, if he'd never have asked me to do it, I would never have done it. Oh, that's good. That's good if you're mate. Know? But did he just do it to get you in, and then he dropped out so you'd win? Yeah. I think he felt sorry for me, so he was like, I'll let him have it. But no, so there was that, and then I just found that it sounds really daft, but having, you know, like yourself, if you can put something on a poster that makes people, like, stand to attention. Yes. You know, you've obviously got, you know, Britain's Got Talent finalist amongst other as seen on TVs, which is brilliant, because when you've got that poster, you know, if you're ever going to do Edinburgh, you'll get a lot of people that will look only for that. Yeah, I'm looking at my latest poster, the tour that was cancelled last year. I might call the show that, actually, but I haven't put anything on there about. I know what you mean, but I'm not trying to shake it off either. But I've not put it on there. I kind of want people to come and see me for me, because I think when they do see the Britain's Got Talent tag, I think they think you can't do more than 3 minutes, and so I'm doing a 2-hour show here, and I want them to think, oh, that looks good. You know, it looks like an entertainer. He's got 2 hours. I put a few quotes on there from a few audience members, and I'm hoping that's all I need to sell it, really. But it's nice if you've got these tags and kind of quotes from people. I mean, I get what you mean about the Britain's Got Talent, but couldn't you put on as seen on TV? Yeah, that's true. If you put as seen on TV, it's it's that power. I mean, because I noticed it, and I've seen it before, working both on the holiday parks as a presenter and working both on the holiday parks as a live act myself.
Yeah.
When the audience know that you've done a little bit of TV, their attention is with you straight away.
Oh, I think so. Yeah, I think it's as seen on Love Island. I put that.
Yeah, well, yeah. Whereas if you're going in and you're just tonight is Phil Reid comedian.
Yes.
We're going to go, oh, well, we'll see if he's all right, and you're kind of going in with a 50-50 attitude because there's no weight behind the name. Whereas, yourself, like Steve Hewlett, as seen on TV, they're going to go, oh, okay, he was on TV. And I think it's that like celebrity side, isn't it? It's like, oh, we've got someone who's been on TV here, and the amount of weight that holds, and like I say, I've seen it when I worked as a presenter.
Yes.
Where people would go in, like Keith Harris, he'd go on, and yes, he's Keith Harris, and he's a different level and a different class anyway, but the audience were with him from 5 minutes before he was due on stage. You could see him getting the drinks in, right, sit down, get ready, sit down.
Yeah, they're ready and waiting.
Yeah, because I remember, I was the same. Because the first time I seen Keith live, actually, was in 2004.
Right.
I went to Presthaven Sands with a friend of mine, and I was 18, and I said to him, I want to go into the show bar tonight because Keith Harris is on. And he said the worst thing that he could have ever said. He went, who's Keith Harris?
Oh.
And I was like, no. I said, if that's how we're going to play it, I said, you can stay in the... I said, I'll go on my own. But anyway, he came with me, and he loved it. But I was, again, because it was Keith Harris, and because of that, the accolade and the weight behind his name, and I knew who he was, and the TV side of it, and the success, and everything. The venue was packed from as soon as he opened to as soon as he went off. As soon as he went off, it was like, right, okay, well, we've seen what we've seen, because everyone got there early because they wanted seats and stuff.
Yeah, it's what he done. He packed the houses out when he done Butlins and Haven. He just and he did the family show, and then he would do the adult show, wouldn't he? Which would pack that out. Yeah, the duck off. Yeah. That's it. Truly incredible. Wow. But he's got.
But I think if you've got that, and that's what I found, like having that little bit of like because I won it. It was a national competition because it was open to anyone. But to have next to my name award-winning comedian.
That's nice. It
has that little bit of weight, which is great because it's like, okay, well, he's won multiple awards, if you like, because I've won another one in 2015.
Yes.
And it's having that, and it's just having that little bit of weight. So doing that, and as I say, 2014 was when I won that Joker of the Year, which then got me signed with a temporary management, which then they kind of opened the doors into holiday parks for me.
Brilliant.
Which was good. At the time, I wasn't ready because, I was obviously a lot younger, and when you win a comedy competition, you think, well, live at the Apollo, and,
Yeah, you're building, aren't you?
Yeah, and I was a bit more naive to it, and then it's taken me a few years to actually go, well, do you know what? The holiday parks are a brilliant gig anyway. I know a lot of people that don't like holiday parks, but then it's just one of those where I think, well, if I can do it and I can do well at it, it opens so many other doors, which it has done.
Yes.
Being able to do a family audience and be able to do it well is then open the doors to Panto.
That's what Keith may have said this to you, Phil, but he said this to me as well. He said, because of what we do, we can entertain children and grandparents and everyone in between. We're very lucky we're doing that. And you do a bit of event in your act now, and it's nice to have that. And if you can do that as a comic, that's an even, that's a brilliant talent if you can do it as a stand-up as well.
Yeah. To be honest, I do that little bit of ventriloquism in my act as more of as a nod to Keith Harris.
Yeah, that's nice.
Because as I say, like when you're moulded and you kind of look back, as you say, through the years, and I do that. As I say, ventriloquism. I love ventriloquism, and I admire anyone who can do it like yourself, who can do it exceptionally well with a puppet. I've got a puppet, and I haven't got the confidence or the technique or the skill to do it on stage. Whereas, like with what I do, what you said, like the little bit of ventriloquism that I do on stage, that's just more of a nod Do you know what I mean? To people like yourself that have who I admire, and Keith, who helped me grow and just influence me in that way. So
yeah, it's nice. We have that. I always do a little nod to Keith. He gave me one of the characters I use, and I always mention it before I get him out. But it's I need to mention this as well. Just I don't know if I've said this on the podcast yet, but it's to do with Keith as well. And he, because you're saying about the BGT tag and stuff, and mentioning being on TV. Well, Keith was approached after doing a Haven or a Butlins gig, because I do Butlins as well, and Keith was doing Butlins at the time. This is the last time I spoke to him. He said, I was doing Butlins last year, and he said this family come up to me, and the dad said, "Oh, why didn't you do the Simon Cowell dummy?"
Oh, really?
To Keith Harris, like they think there's only one ventriloquist in the world, and so he said, "Oh, you were on Britain's Got Talent, weren't you?" And Keith said, "Yeah, that was me." So he just went along with it, and so I was crying with laughter when he told me. I said, "What did you say?" He went, "I just said, well, thanks very much," because they said, "Oh, you were very good." And he said, "Well, thanks very much," and then he walked on, to the next family. But it was, it's crazy how they pigeonhole just because you do vent. I'm the one with the duck, or my mate Jimmy Tamley is the one with the boxer, and they get me mixed up with Paul Zerdin a lot. Or I'm just waiting for the day they get me mixed up with Nina Conti. Mind you, I have grown some moobs in the old lockdown. You never know. I just need a monkey. So I mean, but you've gone from strength to strength. So you're doing a couple of these talent competitions. And then these great comedy club ones. So you went on to the Hot Water Comedy Club, New Comedian of the Year.
I got through to the final, so...
You're in the final, New Comedian of the Year. That's brilliant. Hoofer's Got Talent, 2015. Is it FAF Comedian of the Year?
Yeah, FAF Comedy.
FAF Comedy, brilliant. So you had a good 2015. That was a good year.
Yeah, and I just think because going, as I say, just to carry that weight and to have that... To be taken seriously, because... I mean, there's a lot of people that we know that will go and do comedy because their friends have told them that they're funny in the pub and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think when you've got that, and I just thought, well, keep it rolling, because, again, to try and look at it down the line like what we're doing now, I think it would have looked a bit weird if it had been like Joker of the Year 2014, and then New Act of the Year, or Liverpool New Act of the Year finalists 2020. And it's like, well, you're not a new actor because you won that 6 years ago.
Yeah, and why wasn't he funny in 2016, 17 and 18?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So I thought, well...
You have to put a year on it.
So the first 2 years, I really concentrated on, competitions and, just getting out there. And
getting known, getting on the circuit and getting a reputation.
Yeah, and just having all that in the short space of time. I think then it does jump off the page that he's actually gone for it. So then when you then do start moving up the ladder, it's then you do that for a couple of years, a year or two, put that aside, and then you then concentrate on the actual gigs then and the path you want to go down.
Yeah.
And then kind of have all that to fall back on.
Yeah, that's amazing. You've worked at the O2 and the Apollo in London. Do you enjoy the intimacy of these venues?
Yeah.
Can you tell us about those gigs?
The O2, I was presenter in a music competition, and that was, it was a lot of, no one was there for me because it was one of those nationwide music competitions where you go from region to region, and then 5 acts from that region to get through, 5 acts from that region, and then it all got to the final. So all I'd literally have to do is go on, good evening, and introduce the acts, still to come, we've got such and such, and then you'd obviously find out where the pockets of their audience and their support because it was a competition. So that was great to obviously have that and to have that experience, but it wasn't, again, that was just the dynamic of doing the presenting that I've done before. So I got, I was doing that, and I auditioned for that job and got it.
Brilliant. Well, don't play it down. It's a great gig to get, mate, and you're bloody good at MCing. You're really good at comparing. So and you're great at doing sets as well. And so I think there's a bit of modesty in there somewhere. You really are better than you know. I think, I don't know. You really are great at what you do, mate. And the advice that we get over the years, you do take it in, from people, and people giving you compliments, and that's nice. And you take it on board if it's good advice. And so,
yeah, definitely. I mean, like you said, because I remember when after the gig that we done together, and you can advice, like you said, it's advice. You can take it or leave it. There can be good advice, there can be bad advice. And some advice I've been given before was when I was comparing a gig years ago, when I was emceeing a gig, the headliner come up to me and he said I was too funny. And I didn't understand it, and I was like,
right.
Oh, okay, I don't know what that means. When he said you're being too funny, just leave the funny to me and leave the funny to
really
to the other acts. Yeah, and you're
wow.
like, I don't get it. You're booked to headline it. Surely you should be not concerning yourself with me. If you're being booked to close this gig,
you should be funny.
There's no problems. It's not like I'm doing.
There shouldn't be.
I'm not doing your material.
Yeah.
I see a problem, but when he was like, "No, you're being too funny," and I didn't understand it. So that advice, when you kind of get that, and you're like, "Well, I don't know what you want me to do." My job is to be the MC. My job is to make everyone laugh and be warm and.
Yeah. It sounded like he wanted you to do his material, so you wasn't as funny. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah. But then I remember when me and you done that gig in Wellingborough.
Yeah.
And we sat in that McDonald's for an hour and a half.
Oh my God.
Having a coffee and a chat, and it was just.
That was nice.
And again, stuff like that.
Wish we could do that now.
You can't buy it.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
Who did buy it? I can't remember who bought that.
Well, I got I used a token from your coffee, free coffee. That'll do.
Oh yes.
Yeah, but it's just that sort of thing. Whereas you say, there can be so much advice around there, both good and bad. And I just think you just need to choose the advice that works for you.
Yeah.
Not, don't take on every little bit of advice, because that'd never work for anyone.
No, definitely.
If you're saying, if you've got an act saying, "Well, don't be funny because you're too funny,"
yeah,
and it's like, okay, well then that's not going to work. Then
it's not great advice. That.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. And it's just stuff like that where you think, okay, well, I'll take that, leave that, and that's stuff that you learn over the years. To go, I listen to like Miles Crawford, massive help. I always listen to his advice from himself.
Yeah.
And people, Tucker, as we know, has both helped us out.
Yes.
Great advice, and you just kind of like look at it and you go, right, okay, yeah, and you're like, all right, And I remember there was a comedian once who I pulled someone up on stage, and there's a comedian, a very well-known comedian, but I won't mention him. Told me that what I should do is when that person comes on stage is like take the mick out of him and rip into him.
Right.
And I was a bit like, oh, okay, but I didn't want to do that because in my head I'm not a nasty act, and that style didn't work for my act and for my persona.
Yeah.
Because I want this person to enhance the show, not to ruin it. Because if you're getting, I know we both do the ventriloquist mask. So if you get someone up on stage and you start taking the mick out of him, he only has to turn on you, and all of a sudden that spot then becomes a shambles.
Not as funny, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like, and as I say, so I got that advice, but again, I never took it, and that was off a very well-known comedian. And you're
wow.
Just like, okay, thanks very much.
Yeah, that's interesting. Just that I was doing a corporate gig with Rob Beckett, and Rob said, "What do you want me to say about you?" And I went, "I done BGT. I said, you can take a piss out of me if you want. Just say whatever you want. I'm a ventriloquist." And he went, "Nah, I'm not going to take a piss out of you, mate. Just tell me what you like me to say." And because I watched Rob Beckett on telly, and he's such a great comic. He's brilliant, and he makes fun of things. And I thought, I really want Rob Beckett to get a laugh out of me being a ventriloquist, but I was all right with it. I was all right if he wanted to take the piss. I was giving him the license to do so, but it kind of surprised me that he said, "Nah, I wouldn't do that to you, mate." He was really nice with it and professional, and I thought, "Oh, good on you, mate," because I've had the opposite. I've had, some compares take the piss, and then you're just about to walk on, you think, "Oh, that wasn't Very nice. So I was kind of just going along with it. I think, okay, I'm in a corporate gig. It's nice if you relax the audience. I'm okay with what Rob's just said. But no, he was great. It was really nice actually with his intro. But if somebody tells you to do something like that and it's not you, then it's not you, is it? And you can't change your persona. That's not really advice. That's someone telling you how to do your act. You could take advice on board.
Yeah, well, because that's the sort of thing that they would do in their act.
Yeah.
And, and it worked for them, and it worked for them and their audience and their generation, because their audience, expected that style, whereas it didn't work for me because I was a cheeky chap. I like to come across as the cheeky chap. Everyone's mate, and if you see me at the bar, you can come up to me and have a chat and have a drink, and and have that side of it, and that's how I like to portray myself. And touch wood, and luckily that's what comes across.
That's amazing, and it does, mate.
Which is great. And I just thought, if I started going down the route of saying like nasty things and digging at people, then it would take everything that I've worked for away just in one little bit. Yeah,
definitely. There's no need for it if it's not you. And but you can take your persona and your character into pantomime, and you haven't done many pantomimes, but you got into it. And I know at the time you loved going into panto, didn't you? You really enjoyed it.
Oh, I loved it. I still love it now. I love it. It sounds really daft, but I'm sure, like yourself as well, when you know that you've got panto earlier on in the year, it kind of sets you up for the year then. And it gives you something to look forward to. And I never thought I would like it as much as I love it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I do. I miss it, actually. I haven't done it for about 5 years, and I've done about 11 in my time. And this Christmas, I was planning to go back, and I will if they do come back. But panto, for me, is one of the greatest jobs you can have in variety and comedy. It's just such a nice camaraderie, with working with different people. And I know you worked with a dear friend of mine who was directing, Debbie Flitcroft. You worked at Folkestone with her. I love Debbie to bits.
Yeah. 2019, sorry.
Was it? Yeah. And brilliant Andre Vincent. Was he your mum? Did he play your mum?
Yeah. Dame Dollar Doolittle. Yeah, that was good. And as I say, and I never met him, and it saddens me that I never did, but I did speak with him on the phone. I remember, because we know Debbie is married to Roy Hood.
Yes.
And I spoke to him on the phone, and he was like, I'm really excited about coming to see you. Debbie's spoken really highly of you, and, and I'll come and see you soon and stuff. And it was just really nice. And, unfortunately that never happened.
Oh.
To have that.
That's when we lost him, wasn't it?
Little nod from Roy Hood and stuff. And as we know, he's a panto legend, and he knows he knows the business inside out. He's been doing it for years and stuff, and it was just incredible. And when you have that influence, as I say, I'm only two pantos in. This year just gone would have been my third year.
Yeah.
So I've joined the party, I would say, quite late, I imagine.
You've got the bug, though.
Oh, massively. I remember, because in 2017, I took my kids to see Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs in Crawley with Stephen Mulhern.
Oh, yes, yeah. He's a good one to see, Stephen.
Yeah, he was incredible. And, like the cast, we Michael J. Batchelor, he was a legend at Crawley, as well as Richard Franks.
Richard's fantastic, yeah.
Yeah, and it was just, I was watching it, and I remember it was 2017 that I kind of made the transition to go, do you know what? I'm going to embrace the holiday parks. I'm going to look at, how do I get into panto? How do I go down that route? And how do I, try and secure that? And what do I have to do to work on it and to do it?
Yeah.
And I remember in 2017, as I say, because I'd already made a decision, I took the boys to see Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, as I say. And I remember watching them and just looking around and watching all the generations, like, from the young kids right the way up to your nans and granddads, and everyone else in between. And just to have that, it made me really excited. That's the path I wanted to go down.
Yeah.
Not knowing it would have been, because what was really bizarre is we waited at the stage door to try and meet Stephen Mulhern and get a photo with him, with the boys and stuff. And as a true gentleman he is, he did exactly that. I remember Mason, my my youngest at the time, he just knocked on the door. He just knocked on the door, on the stage door, and the security guard or the stage door manager was there, and he's like, "Hello," he went, and he just handed his program and his pen to this stage door, and he was like, "Is Stephen Mulhern there?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'll just go and get him." Next minute, Stephen Mulhern came out, and he was just dead nice, dead chatty, speaking to the kids and stuff, and it was just incredible. And then what blew my mind is 12 months later, I was on the other side of that stage door, coming out doing the same for the kids.
Wow,
that had seen me.
That's weird, isn't it?
And it just, as I say, it just blew my mind. And the more and more I get into it, the more and more I'm just learning and absorbing and wanting to make a great, successful career of pantomime.
Oh, contributional.
That's nice, And Keith Harris wanted to do 50 pantos, and he was booked in to do his 49th, and that's when he started to get ill. So he was gutted he couldn't get to his 50th panto, and so but he done 48, and that's an incredible achievement. It really is.
Yeah, of course it is. I mean, especially when as I say, I know I've come to the party quite late. But it's just something, as I say, that I'm working on. I worked close with Debbie, built up a really great relationship with Debbie, and anyone who I've worked with. And again, that advice and taking it on, and just being a sponge to everything. Because under no circumstances am I walking into a pantomime and going, "Oh yeah, I know it all. I don't know anything."
No.
And I think my first year proved that when I done Cinderella in Bromley for Kudos, and I remember I walked in. Leslie Joseph was the star of the show. She was the fairy godmother, and then I was then cast as Buttons that year. And I just remember walking in, and the script, it was a Kudos show, Kudos script, so it was solid, it was incredible. And I thought, "Oh, okay, do you know what I mean? It's like, okay, well, there's a script." And naively, I never done much to change it. But I look back on it now, and I go, I could have added in there, I could have added in here, I could have changed that, I could have adapted this. And that's obviously what they want the comedian for.
Yeah, they do. Do you know what? I'm in the same position. And that was Jonathan Kiley, wasn't it? Was it Jonathan?
Yeah, Jonathan Kiley, yeah.
Yeah. I've done one for Kudos, and it was for Jonathan Kiley. And I was working Snow White, and it was Craig Revel Horwood was directing this one. And he said to me, at the end of the run, Craig did. He said, "Steve, open up to me." It was. He really wanted me to add more stuff. I think he wanted me to react more on stage, and I didn't understand what he was saying at the time. But I wish he'd said it in rehearsals, because I would have. I guess I would have blossomed a bit more in the comedy stakes, because I'd learnt my bits. He just wanted me to do my sets, and my act I wrote for the beginning of the panto. They cut a gag because the panto gets longer and longer during the run, doesn't it? So my acts just got shorter and shorter, as I ended up doing 1 minute at the end. I think he just wanted me to be more of ad-libber when I was doing scenes with him, because I had quite a few scenes with Craig, and and I was kind of gutted, really, because I didn't know what he meant. And now, talking to you, really, I kind of feel like I wish I'd have added to it. And you don't stop learning. I've done 11, and I've never really had the chance to be Muddles or the comedy part. And Kudos gave that to me, and I kind of wish that I'd have stepped up to the plate, But now I kind of learned you don't stop learning.
No, and that was the thing, because I know that. I mean, like yourself, and with what you're saying, I know that I'd done my job. I didn't do it to its full potential, but I'd done the job. Yeah. I didn't flop. I didn't, I was professional. I delivered how it needed to be delivered and stuff. I didn't understand, like you said, with what you're saying with Craig, that the open up part, and I didn't understand it fully. It was only when Kudos, then after our run had finished, there was still pantos going on into January, and weeks after ours had finished, that Kudos gave me comp tickets and said, go and watch such and such, go and watch, Brian Conley. So I managed to go and watch Bobby Davro in Southampton. I went to go and watch Brian Conley in Bristol.
Wow.
I've been to see Matt Slack in Birmingham.
But three of the best. Wow. Brilliant.
Yeah, and you just look at it and you just like, Okay. I got it, and it clicked, and especially when I seen Brian Conley, as a great actor he is and stuff. Whereas the only way I could portray it was that I done 90% script, 10% me. Whereas Brian Conley made it look 90% him, 10% script.
That's a great analogy, definitely.
And I was just like, oh, I get it now. And I know that, Brian is a incredible, polished performer and so good at what he does, which is why he's Brian Conley and does what he does. But I understood it fully.
Yeah.
I went, okay, I get it now. That's what I didn't do. I didn't go in and I didn't say, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do this, can I do this here? And there was no input from me. I just literally got the script and went, that's brilliant. And, I stuck with the script.
Yeah.
Whereas, I didn't come in with any wiggle room. So that was a massive learning curve that I learned after the first year, to the point that the following year, when I worked with Debbie in Lees Cliff Hall in Folkestone with PHA, that I then spoke to the writer and the producer, and we were just sat and talking and just saying, listen, I've had this idea, is there any chance we can try and get this in? And and even now, like for this year coming, because of what's happened last year, I was meant to be back in Lees Cliff Hall in Folkestone in 2020, but I'm back there this year, which is brilliant.
Okay.
They've offered me the contract back there, so that's great news. So I'll be back there this year, but it's just one of those that when you listen to people or when you watch people, you're like, it doesn't turn off. You know what I mean? You can't just show up in December and go, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do the other. What was brilliant that last year in Folkestone, I managed to adapt and write a few routines that went down a storm brilliantly. Yeah. And what was so nice is that, the producers and the writers at PHA allowed me to do that.
Yes. Paul Holman. Paul Holman.
Yeah, Paul
Brilliant.
Holman.
Yeah, I love Paul.
Holman, as we know, and Nick George.
Yes.
Who writes the script and stuff, and it was just so nice to, and that's where I'd learned so much from doing my first year.
Yeah.
With Kudos and going in from a non-league football team straight into the Champions League final. Going, oh, okay.
Yeah.
It was just a bit. It was like that, and there was so much that I'd skipped, but then so much that I'd learned that it was like, right, okay, this is what I need to do, and as I say, like learning now, and and going back this year to Folkestone again, we're doing Cinderella this year, which is brilliant, so that's great. But I'm again constantly thinking and writing and working towards that.
Brilliant.
Which is like what you said. It's now bringing myself onto the stage. And what was so nice as well is, I think what really worked in my favour, where I'd learned so much from Cinderella in 2018 in Bromley, I didn't really bring too much of myself. I just kind of played the part.
Okay, yeah.
Whereas doing it in Folkestone and playing Muddles in Folkestone was, I brought the characters, so I brought myself, and I did it that way, and I built up a better rapport with the audience and kind of played that style a lot more, to the point that's why they've asked for me back this following year, or this coming year, sorry.
Well, that's a great feeling as well, isn't it? To be asked back as well at the same venue. Yeah. That's so nice, because it means the audience want you back, the venue wants you back, and the company does. So and
it is a great feeling, because you have that side of it, and it's just, as you say, when you're getting asked back by the audience and the venue, and because I know Folkestone, Lees Cliff Hall haven't. When our panto was the first professional panto that they'd had in there for like 12, 13 years, I think.
Okay.
A lot of it, like previously, had been Amdram. So the theatre went, we want PHA in, so they brought PHA in. So then for me to then be asked back, when they could have gone, well, we'll get someone else in and stuff, it was just really nice. And as I say, and from when you look back in a few years, I think personally it'd look a lot stronger to be backed by popular demand on my CV than it would be, Bromley, Folkestone, Worthing, Liverpool, do you know what I mean, and scattering around that way. I think it looks stronger if it's like...
I tell you what, like we were talking about earlier as well, but what to put on the poster, whether it's a new comedian of the year, I think what you just said, backed by popular demand, is a great line, nice line to put on a poster, because that proves, doesn't it, that people will come back and see you, and people that haven't seen you go, why is he backed by popular demand? So we need to go and see him. It's a great line to put on. So yeah, that's nicely done.
Yeah, and I think, and as I say, that's when I've spoken to P8 Paul Holman and stuff, and that's one of the things that I think we're looking to put on.
Brilliant.
As on the poster, just to have that attraction and to have that pull, and it will be nice, as I say, for myself to, have that recognition of they've asked for me back, and it's like, okay, but then it's also what I'm looking forward to is the challenge of, well, I can't do the same stuff that I've done last year.
Yeah, that's a challenge. A whole new set, which is interesting, and I've had to do that in some seasons a couple of times, and it's nice. You get to do the rest of your act, which is good fun. It's nice writing as well, and you can do that. And just before we go, mate, can we talk a little bit about Josh Barry before we go? Because Josh is a wonderful podcaster, writer, and presenter, and he approached me a couple of years ago. I've done a few things with him, and I love his talent. He's got a great talent for getting to know people, and he's inspired me really to do my own podcast as well as a few others. But I love what Josh is about, and he's a great ideas man. Now he's got this idea for coming out hopefully this year. We've been trying to get a date together, but he's brought me and you together. Can you tell us a little bit about the project you're working on?
Yeah, the project that we're working on, it's, as you know, he's got his podcast called Beyond the Title.
Yes.
And I know that you've been interviewed, and as have I, on his podcast, where he wants to get to know the person and stuff like that, and what's brought them on their journey and how it's all gone about. And I did how me and Josh got in contact was, I was doing a comedy night over in the Isle of Wight, where Josh lives, and I did really well. I went, I did really well with the audience, and to the point that the Bobby Davro went back over. It was with Joke Club again. Bobby Davro went back over, and they specifically asked for me to go back and support him.
Oh, nice.
So that was nice. So then obviously I built up that rapport again with the people on the Isle of Wight, which was, again, like we just spoken about, was brilliant and amazing.
Yeah.
And then I got to do the podcast the interview with Josh Barry. And then he approached me at some point last year, 2020, and told me about the idea of what he's got about doing the Beyond the Title live. So
it's a lovely idea.
Yeah, is going to be. It's going to be what he already does and what he's already excelling in, like with his podcasting and his interviews and stuff. It's going to be that, but on a audience scale.
Yes.
So, I know when we've been speaking with yourself and other people, that we're going to bring it into a theatre, and it'll be like a one night only event. In the format that we've got like the questions. I'll go on, because there'll be a lot of people that don't know the format of the show or the premise of who Josh Barry is and stuff. So I'll go on and talk about that, host the whole show, bring it all together. We'll bring out the guest like yourself or whoever it may be, ask the questions, have a break, and then the second half is going to be, we want the audience involved. So we're going to give them that interval to either write down questions or text in questions.
Nice.
That we're then going to ask. And open it up that way, and hopefully then, depending on the situation, what we want to make a little bit different is we want to then get to know the man behind the act. So like yourself, we want to get to know Steve Hewlett, but then what we then want to do is say 10-15 minutes at the end we want to give to you and let you show people the act that they know and love and that they've seen.
Yeah. It's a great idea. It's a nice concept.
Night, so for the whole night and for the whole premise, they're getting the whole shebang.
It's fantastic. It's like a biography and then a performance as well. It's just such a nice idea, and I love the fact that you're hosting. Firstly, it'd be nice to work with you. I hope he does get Bobby Davro actually, because Bobby would be very interesting to do that with, and to do a set at the end. Good luck with him trying to do 15 minutes, by the way, because I love Bobby, and I wouldn't want to I wouldn't want to shorten Bobby's act, because I could watch him all night. But Bobby said something about you. I need to just say, because we're nearing the end of this. He said Phil was very original, and he's definitely going places with a very funny act. Now, Bobby knows his stuff, because he's been around the business for 40 years, and he's just at top of his game. He's such a strong act. To do this with Josh would be fantastic. I'd love to do it, and I can't wait to do it.
Yeah, and I know when we've had production meetings, because what's been nice is he hasn't just brought me in to host it, he's brought me in to contribute to it. And how are we going to, what's the best way to do the show? Because when I've done, in the past, I've done sportsman's dinners or Q&As with, footballers or, along those lines. I've found that sometimes some of the stories can just drag on a little bit, which is why, and it's nothing to do with the premise. It's obviously, it is what it is, when people are asking questions and that. Yeah. And that's why I've said I think what we need to do is merge everything that we've done into one. So as I say, we're going to go beyond the title of Steve Hewlett, and we're going to get to know you, where you were born, coming up. I mean, your back catalogue and your knowledge of the industry is second to none. So I'm looking forward to our interview and our time when we work together on that, because it'll be so fascinating. It'll be so fascinating for me to have what we're doing now, but to have the roles reversed and me listening to you and everything that that you've done, and it's going to be so inspiring. That's what we want to do. We want to inspire, people that are going to be in the audience, because it's going to be a family show. We'll open up to families. It'll be an entertaining show for the people that are there in regards to. That's why we want to create everything. So it'll be, as I say, like beyond the title with Steve Hewlett, getting to know you, getting to know your history, getting to know your journey, and then asking the audience, getting the audience involved to them ask questions. Obviously, we can't get everyone to ask questions, but just I don't know. Just little questions like, I remember, like, we were talking about Keith Harris. I asked him what his first ever puppet was, and he told me. And it fascinates me that it was like, okay, like his first ever puppet when he was a kid, was I don't know if you know, or if he told you, the puppet he told me was Charlie Chat.
I've got that name written down, because I've obviously written a book and I've got a nice piece on Keith, and I think Charlie Chat is the name of the puppet. I think.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So Charlie Chat, because I asked him obviously when he's been made so big with Orville and Cuddles and stuff, and I said, what was your first puppet? And it's questions like that I love knowing and asking that you wouldn't normally know. Do you know what I mean? Because you can get like a lot of interviews that I'll say are samey to a degree, but then that's why I think with what me and Josh trying to produce and come up with and bring to the table, that people are going to be going out going, wow, didn't know that about Steve Hewlett, but what a great act.
Yeah, I like to find some stuff out about myself, actually. I'm looking forward to it. God knows.
So I'm really looking forward to that.
Don't speak to any Haven mates.
yeah. But as I say, I'm looking forward to getting that. That's one of the projects that I've been working on.
Brilliant.
We've been locked down, and me and Josh have been having a lot of Zoom meetings and a lot of emails back and forth and contacting venues, and it's just until we get this green light when we're allowed to, when we're not grounded anymore and we're allowed back out to play. Yeah,
that would be amazing. We do need the green light, so I want to thank you so much for this, Phil. This has been brilliant. I feel like I know you a little bit more now, and when we go out for a pint, I feel like I've been to school with you and everything now. And it is about getting to know the people behind the persona, or the character. It's brilliant, and you play a great character. But your comedy is brilliant. I'm a fan of yours, mate. It's really nice style that you've got, and keep it up. And I really can't wait to get back out there. I bet you can't.
No, I definitely can't. And can I just say thank you very much for having me on the show. I've been a massive fan of the pod. The guests that you've had on, and I've
thanks,
listened
mate.
to, I'm going to say 95% of them. Some of them have just been incredible, and like you said, and to be a part of that now. So thank you for having me on, Steve. It's been a real pleasure.
Thanks, mate. We need to save you this business and the people in it. Well, thank you so much to Phil Reid on Eyes and Teeth.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Eyes and Teeth. That was the brilliant Phil Reid. Cheers, Phil. You can now book tickets for our one-off Isle of Wight special, the evening of chat and laughter with Josh Barry, Phil Reid and myself, when we will be on stage together at Gurnard Pines, Cockleton Lane, Cowes, Isle of Wight on October the 16th. Tickets are on eventbrite.co.uk. Search for Beyond the Title presents an evening with Steve Hewlett. Come and have fun that night. Join in with us. And to find out more about Josh Barry, look up www.beyondthetitle.co.uk. To see more of Phil Reid or book him for one of your events, go to www.philreidcomedy.com, on Twitter @PhilReidComedy, or on Facebook or TikTok or even YouTube. Today's comedy quote comes from top comedy US host Conan O'Brien. Work hard, be kind and amazing, and things will happen. And when all else fails, there's always delusion. Eyes and Teeth is written, produced and hosted by Steve Hewlett. Vocals by Nina, Lola and Larissa Hewlett. Additional vocals by Rich T. The Eyes and Teeth music and jingles are produced and performed by the one and only Mr. Kevin Dean. Join me next time on Eyes and Teeth, Funny for Money, when I'll be talking to the hilarious stand-up comedy magician from Chicago, USA, Rich Papura. I can't wait.